Welcome to another session of Be a Better You, a chat series that I made to dedicated for personal branding. And we've had a couple of chat series, couple of guests coming up in the past. And unfortunately, the guest that I reserved for this week had another conflict, so he had to back up, and that's why I'm filling in today. And but um, to make the most of it, I thought, why not explain the basics of personal branding. What is it about? I mean, there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of hype going around personal branding, that you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But I at least for me, I think there is less clarity of what it is exactly out there. So that's why I have this episode here today, all by myself. But before I get into business, I would like to see who is out there, who is watching. I mean, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube right now. I'll keep an eye on the comments, all your questions, so that this is more of an engaging experience rather than me just going blah, blah, blah. That's not probably what you want either. So keep me engaged. Please keep me asking questions. And just before we start, whoever is out there, if you're watching this right now, if it's 6 p.m. at Melbourne time right now. If you're watching this live, you can comment live and your location. So if you're from Melbourne live and Melbourne in your comments, I at least know people are watching where you're watching from, and it could give me a good idea of who is watching this. And if you're watching the replay, or if you're watching this at a later point of time, please comment replay and your location, so that I know you're watching the replay and not the live version, but we can still be engaged on that. So I'll keep an eye on the comments every now and then. I hope I will be engaged. I'm already getting some comments on LinkedIn. So please keep them coming. And I'll give a brief introduction of what I am intending to do today. So um, all this begins from my journey. I mean, I came to Melbourne as a migrant a couple of years back, and the last 1 year has been extremely transformative for me. I didn't even know I was doing personal branding, or I didn't have a word to explain what I was doing there. I was just putting up posts and I was liking the attention. That's what I was doing. So that's what everyone does in social media, right? You post on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or wherever it is, and you love the attention and you keep doing it. And that's all I thought it was. And I thought it will go away one day and I'll be back to my normal self. But no, I mean, it kind of snowballed into a big thing. And if you've been following me for the past year or two, you know the kind of transformation I've done. I mean, from my first video on LinkedIn, I think it was 6 months ago. If you still watch it, it's out there. It's so bad. I mean, I know it's so bad, but it's out there to from what to how I'm talking to you right now. It's been a huge transformation for me. So I'm getting a lot of comments. Hi Rishabh, hi Sandeep. We have they're from Perth, Sydney. There's Usha from Sydney as well. Shaker from all the way from Belgium. Thanks for joining in, Shaker. And on YouTube we have Ria Das also commenting. So thanks a lot. Appreciate that. The more comments that I get, the more energy I get, and the more fruitful this will be. So coming back to personal branding, so that's where it started. So I was searching what is it that is happening for me, and I didn't have a word, or I didn't have a explanation to what it was. I'm doing stuff that I hated to do 2 years ago. 2 years ago, if you asked me if I would be talking to strangers, if I'd be talking to a camera, that would have been a very big resounding no. But here I am. I mean, actually enjoying doing it. And I was like looking back and thinking, was the last 30 years of my life a false image out there, or was I putting what I wasn't supposed to do? And that's why I started investigating more on what personal branding is, and that's why I have a lot of interest in it right now. Hi Navdeep from India, and hi Mohit from Melbourne. Thanks for joining in. Keep the comments coming. So if you have any questions along the way, please keep them coming, and I'll try to address each and every one of them. So today's session is all about the basics. So in the past three episodes, we had different people come in and explain their version of personal branding. We had Maria, who explained the importance of networking. Then we had Kev explaining how networking is important to international students specifically. And last week we had Michael, who explained how how personal branding transformed his life and why it is important for IT professionals. So today I'm bringing all those ideas together and explaining what is personal branding, um, why do you need it today, and how can you start personal branding. It's not a simple thing. It won't start or finish in a day. It's probably like a more of a lifestyle rather than a thing to be done. So it's a more extensive thing. So let me start with the what of personal branding. So what is personal branding? And the best place you look for answers, that's what I did too. I looked at Wikipedia. Now I'll read out what is written over here. So personal branding is a conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in the industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. Now, that's a very complicated answer, and I mean, when I read it first, it kind of did not connect to me. I mean, yes, it is what it technically says over there, but it looks too tech savvy, and it's not on a level that can connect to us. But I really like the second paragraph that's there on Wikipedia. It says the process of personal branding involves finding your uniqueness, building a reputation on the things you want to be known for, and then allowing yourselves to be known for them. That is bang on point. It's about you. So it revolves around what is unique about you. How do you build a reputation around that, and how do you leave a legacy, or what do you want to be known for? So that's bang on, and that kind of relates a lot to what personal branding is to me, and I'm sure it relates to many people as well. So here, in the second paragraph, it's also written, ultimately the goal is to create something that conveys a message and that can be monetized. um, that can be a bit distracting because it says that can be monetized, and most don't want to monetize themselves. I mean, you're a individual contributor, you're a software engineer, you're a data analyst, you're a AI engineer, whatever it is. You would prefer yourself to be a individual contributor, and you don't really need a brand around you. You don't need that to be monetized because you are being paid by an employer anyways, right? So you don't want that. So there is a lot more to it rather than just monetizing. Conveying a message is a huge part of it, and even more wonderful thing is finding your uniqueness. The first point that's mentioned in the second para, finding your uniqueness, that is where it is bang on. So that's the wiki version of what personal branding is, and I hope that second paragraph over there is bang on what it is. Now, personal branding is about you. It's about you only, right? It's not about you copying someone else's method. Say, for example, if you're looking up, if you're watching this episode or if you're watching this conversation, and if you think, hey, I want to do what he does and I want to be like him, that's not personal branding. That won't be authentic. So if even though we have the same passions, if even though I have the same passion, you have the same passion as I do, say for example helping international students and migrants, that's something that I deeply like. But if you try to be me, that's not personal branding. You will be trying to be someone else, and it will be easy to identify. Even if you copy what I'm saying here, even if you copy my content, it won't be authentic. You can't connect to the audience the same way I do. So that's why it's important. It's about you. It's about what you want. It's not about anyone else. It's not about me. It's not about the influencers out there. It's not about people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or whoever it is. It's not about them. It's about you. And the perfect example I can give you, I see this floating around LinkedIn a lot. Say Elon Musk's one-page resume. A lot of people try to follow that, and they try to get a job as well. Trust me, not a single person has said that they have got a job or they have got a call back after copying that Elon Musk's one-page resume. Elon Musk will get a job not because of his resume or one-page resume, whatever it is. He'll get a job because of his brand. He'll get a job because of what he's known for. And if you're not known for something, however, that one-page resume just won't work. So stop um, dreaming about being someone else. Personal branding is not about that. Personal branding is about you. What ticks you? That's exactly the right word that I like. What is it that ticks you? Look behind. What is it that you actually love doing? In your last project, or in when you're doing college, or where at some point of time there's something that actually makes you happy. Find that out. Find that out, and try to bring that in the professional side of things. It's not like you can you can work or you can have a living out of that. That's where personal branding becomes really important. So that's about my what is personal branding part. I hope that was loud and clear. If you have any comments, I'll just take a look at the comments on LinkedIn and YouTube if there's any comments. Anushka has joined from Melbourne. Thanks for hi Anushka. Thanks Alak from Bangalore. Shaker says personal branding is all about creating impressions that identifies you and defines the character you want to be. Absolutely on point. That was a beautiful explanation. Samjana from Melbourne as well. So thanks for joining in. If you have any questions on or at any point of time, I've just explained what personal branding is all about. So I hope I explained that well. So that is what personal branding is. So I'll move on to the why personal branding is important and how to at least kick off personal branding. That's following sections. Hi Neeraj from Sydney. Hi to you too. So keep the questions coming. That's how I realize, or that's what pumps energy into me. Otherwise, I'll go low and my energy will be low, and I might even sign up. So please keep my energy high. It's up to you. It's in your hands to make me keep my mouth talking, or whatever way I put it. Hi Premanjali from Melbourne as well. So let me move on. I assume there is no questions from the what part of personal branding. Now let me go on to the why of personal branding. Now I haven't heard about personal branding till, I mean, if you ask me, in the last decade, if it was say in early 2000s or late 2000s, sorry, early 2010s. The time flies. I don't think personal branding was a thing at all, but recently, at least in the past maybe 4 to 5 years, personal branding has been popping up just like that. So something is changing, something around the world is changing, and that's having a huge impact on why this is so important right now. So let me tell you, maybe a decade ago, at least this was for me. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but this was the general impression of how the workforce used to go. For example, me, I graduated with a computer science degree and got a job as a software engineer in one of the top MNC organizations in India, and that was it. So then I was just going with the flow. So I was a software engineer. I had a certain set of skills. I jumped companies. I again became a say senior software engineer. Then I jumped row again. I became an associate technically. So the only thing you had to do there is apply for jobs, get a job, and some jobs are so safe that you probably stay in that company for say 10, 15, 20 years, or until you retire, whatever it is. This used to be how the workforce works, but just look around you. Is it the same any? Is it like that? I don't think so. The generation we are in right now, there are huge changes. Companies or organizations just cut off huge business units. They lay off people. They build. They break things. They rebuild again. This happens a lot, which means you have to be on top of things. You can't afford to just sit back, relax in your job for 10 years. Take the situation we are going through right now, the COVID situation. A lot of people who thought their jobs were safe are being made redundant, and for them it's hard. They didn't expect this. This wasn't They weren't prepared. Some of them haven't even prepared their resumes or interview skills for maybe 10 years, and it becomes very hard to establish themselves. Right now interviews become really hard, everything becomes really hard. So things are changing at such a quick pace that you can't afford to just sit back and relax, right? So you have to know what it is that uh, will make you happy, what it is that will pay your bills, and what is the message that you want to show the world, or what, when someone talks to you or someone gets in touch with you, what is it that they want to see in you. So that should be ready. You can't keep it for, hey, I'll do it when it's needed. No, it's not a 1 day thing, it's not a 1 week thing, it's not a 1 month thing. It takes months to realize what it is and establish that brand. So that's what has been shifting changes. So another thing, what's been changing is information is available in our fingertips right now. Pick a phone, you can probably find an answer for any question. So you don't, even though technical skills are important, say if you know to program in a particular programming language, it's, if you know the concept traits, it's quite easy to program in a different language as well. You don't have to know the syntax, the skills. You have Google. All you have to do is Google, or if you're a software engineer, Stack Overflow. That's the joke that goes around. All you have to know is do that, and you will get the answer. So the importance on technical skills, or the technical memory, I would say, it's going down, right? So it's getting replaced by attitude. How do you express your answer? How do you put your answers on the table? How do you approach a problem? Say you have to write a program, you have to start a project on some programming language that you have never touched. How will you approach the problem? So all those things comes into picture, and these things are extremely hard to represent in a resume, for example. So that shift has also come, and it's hard to copy paste, it's hard to imitate. If it's a test, if it's a programming test, uh, you can, sometimes people just copy their code, they just dump whatever is in their memory into the code and say, hey, it's done. But that's not probably any more relevant. Plus there is a huge influx of skilled professionals. This is adding to that as well. So employers, companies have a lot of options to choose from. Remember, technical skills is not their priority one. So the second skill, as in how do you present yourself, what is it that connects you to them, all those factors comes into picture. And when you are a person just sitting back at home having an impressive resume, you check all the tick marks, all the requirements, that's simply not enough. Unfortunately, that's the generation we are in. That's simply not enough. So that's what it does, and that's why personal branding is important today. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a lifestyle. You have to be on top of things. It's something that you do every day. It's not a 1 day or 1 week or something that you get done. So that was my version of what is personal branding and why is personal branding. So what, again, as I said, it's all about you. What do you do? What is it that you want? You can't copy a person. That's not personal branding. Even if you copy it, it won't last long. It will be not, it won't be genuine. And why, I explain what why the reasons are. um, there are also some I would like to call as side effects of personal branding, and that's what kind of excited me and made me dig further into what personal branding is. One thing is, you'll have clarity on what is it that you want. You won't be confused. Should I go into testing or developing, or should I do this? You won't be confused anymore. You know your answer already. Second thing is, you'll be happier. You'll be way happier in doing what you are doing. So for example, I work full time as a software engineer, but I absolutely love doing this. So I kind of balance between these two, and I don't feel tired at all because I absolutely love doing this. It's like people spending time on Facebook. Uh, I spend time on LinkedIn. So that's the analogy that I put in. You also become way more successful because you know where you have to go. People know where you have to go. People see that. People see your passion, and you'll be way more successful. And you are also more congruent on and in line with your values and purpose. So whatever you do, you won't regret. Um, you know what drives a decision. You know, hey, if you have a choice, you know, hey, this is what I want, this is where I'm going. So you'll be in line, and you'll be more at peace when this happens. So these I would like to call as the side effects of personal branding. So personal branding is just not about your professional career or your profession as such. It has lot, it kind of brings what you really are, and it will also bring it will give clarity on your whole career. So that's my what and why of personal branding. I'm open to questions again. So please keep the questions coming. I have Uma from Perth doing multitasking. Vinesh working and listening. Awesome. Thanks for joining this, Uma. Uh, I have read somewhere that it is a marketing strategy to promote yourself. Um, People think personal branding as primarily as marketing. Whenever personal branding comes into picture, people think, hey, personal branding on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever it is. I'll go into more into detail that, but I had a conversation with Michael. If you watch last week's chat with Michael, he explains that personal branding has three phases, and marketing is the third phase. So there is a lot of groundwork to be done in figuring out what is it that you want to paint in the first place. Marketing comes later on. What you do on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever, that's probably the last step of personal branding. Jeremy asks, "Hi Vinesh, when you graduated uni, were new to workforce. How did you determine what work was right for you?" I did not. I did not determine what work was right for me. So that's why it's been surprising for me in the last 2 years. So I keep saying the story. After graduating from uni, I just went with the flow. I got a job through campus as a junior graduate software engineer role. Then I went into a senior role. I was just doing any job that came my way. I did not have specifics. I did not have a specific on front and back and embedded, nothing. I just, any job that was given to me, I followed that. And I believed that I was a software engineer myself. I mean, and that's what I thought I'd do for life, right? And one thing about software engineers is I'm sure that is not applicable for anyone, but I always say that I do my job best when I hide behind a screen. Talking to people is probably not our best strength. We don't Software individual contributors especially, they don't probably talk much to clients, have a lot of communication and stuff like that. So I always believe that I was best behind a screen, and that's what I do. But look at me today. And that's why I say, the last 2 years have been completely transformative. I'm enjoying having conversations with random strangers. I'm enjoying doing these online catch-ups, and it kind of makes me more happy. And that's been really surprising. So you never know what it is that you want to be, and taking this journey, looking a bit deeper into what you are, will give you a clearer picture. And it can change. It can change every now and then, but you have to stick to it at least for the time being. Just say, look back at your say last 2 to 3 happy occasions, that those times where you are actually really happy. What is it that made you happy? It could be that you were building something. It could be that you were teaching someone to build something. So these are completely two different skills. So if you love teaching, it could be that you like mentoring, you like coaching, you like being a teacher. If you're building something, so what you value is like if you're a software engineer building a product, building software, that's what it will be. And every person will be unique with this. So the the set of values or set of interests that tick you will be unique for you. That won't be something that will exactly match for another person. And I was listening to Naishad's podcast yesterday with Michael, I think. She mentioned in that conversation that there is no good or bad values, and I absolutely agree to that. So one of my values that I always agree is I love attention. um, that's why people post on Instagram or whatever social media it is. People are hesitant to admit that I mean, they do it for attention. Most people won't, but I like attention when you comment. That's the reason I say, hey, please comment. If I don't see your comment for next 10 minutes, I'll be sad, and I'll probably think, hey, why am I doing this? What's the point of me doing this? So um, attention is uh, one of the things that drives me, and I kind of do stuff to get attention, right? So that's how things work. So then you'll think, okay, maybe if I do this, I'll get attention and then I'll be a happy person. So I know what to do. And your life or your next few days will revolve around, okay, how can I achieve my values, or how can I achieve the things that makes me happy? And then you know where to go, you know what direction to go, and things will just roll on from then on. So that's how I define. I hope I partially answered your question, Jeremy. Like I said, uh, you, if you're listening to this podcast and if you're just a fresh graduate, I'm so happy that you're starting, or if you're listening to such things early on in your career. Start from right now, and it will snowball into something big in the future. I'm so happy to do that. So I have a couple of comments from on YouTube from Ria as well. So it says, yes, it's a dynamic environment now, and at every step we have to keep us updated and connected. Absolutely, I agree to that. And a question, as you said, that personal branding is required to crack a job, but at the same time, it takes a lot of time to build connections. Then I guess it will take a lot of time to get the first job as well. So that's like a chicken and egg question, right? So this is specifically regards to job search. It could be migrants, international students, or whoever it is. Um, what we need, or what migrants or job seekers need right now, is a job. They don't care about the brand, they don't care about connections, they don't care about network. Unfortunately, that's the truth. But and in a rush to get a job, what they do is they sit at home, apply online, tweak their resume, upskill, do certifications, do everything, apply, say 100 applications a week. That's what people normally do when they continuously apply, when they're in that mindset. But what is a return of on what you're doing? Say you are making 100 applications a week. You spend 10, 12, or maybe more hours a week trying to make applications. After 2 weeks, what's the result? From what I see, 90% of the time you don't get any response. Maybe another 7 to 8% you get some automated rejections, and maybe one conversion out of that, one interview call, or sometimes maybe nothing at all. So you're spending so much time doing all those things and you have absolutely nothing. So what's the point of doing that? What's the point of doing that? Even though you think that's what you have to do, you do that and you get nothing. What's the point there? That's where you have to balance between networking, building your brand, and applying online and whatever you think is necessary to get a job. Um, the way I say is, okay, in the last 1 week you spent, say, 12 hours. What if you had spent 5 hours building your brand and building your network? Would you have lost immensely on applying online? Probably not. Would you have gained a lot? Say 1 month down the lane, would you have 10 more connections who can mentor you, who can advise you, who you can reach out for help, who can even probably refer you for a role, or who can even direct you to what is it that your future should look like, or who can give you a direction on or clarity on this is how your career should look like? Which is more important? You make the call. For me, networking is more important. And the most important thing is it reduces your stress. Talking to people is a stress reliever. And when you get more clarity, you know you can reach out to people and you get get to talk to new people. It will kind of slowly distract yourself with whatever pressures you're having right now. So my point is, um, coming back to my story, I took 8 months to find a job. And what the mistake I did is I am a person who is very socially awkward, and I have high introvert qualities. So I never went out for a coffee catch up, virtual meetup, or anything of that sort. If I had networked, I would have still taken 8 months. You never know. But my journey would have been way less stressful, and I would have got a lot more in those 8 months. That's a point I want to make. Networking, building a brand doesn't necessarily give you the result. It's not a black and white thing, but it will make a immense change in the way you approach things, and it'll just make you happier. So I hope that answers your question, Ria. I don't see any other comments. So if you're still on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn view says there's only one person watching this live session, which is sad. If you're still watching this session, please comment so that I know you are watching. Um, Hi from Indonesia. Hi, thanks for joining in. And Jacob is asking, hi Vinesh, how do you prioritize your goals in terms of personal branding? What do you do for self-development? How much time do you spend on personal development? Like I said, in the initial days, you'll have to intentionally invest on figuring out what it is that you want. But once it becomes a part of your life, it's just like probably, you're checking Facebook every day. That's it. That's what happens when you, and it depends on the intention too. So if you're thinking personal branding is about posting on Instagram or LinkedIn, say 10 times a week, is that your intention? Do you want to attract people to you? Do you want to market something? Are you a entrepreneur who's trying to sell something? That's when you have to do that. If you're just continuing to be an individual contributor, if you're good, say, for example, if you're a good software developer, you don't have to do that. You have to just be on top of things, say one post a week, or instead, just make yourself visible on LinkedIn, for example. That's the platform I'm comfortable with. So LinkedIn, just share comments, share posts, put comments on other profiles, be on top of things, be among the community so that the community knows that this is what you are. That's all you have to do. You don't have to really spend much time. Just spend, half of what you spend on other social media on this. That's all you have to do. So uh, that depends on what your intention is, but that's what ideally happens in with regards to time. Still no comments on LinkedIn. I hope still people are watching. I hope, but I'll continue to the next part. Yeah. So hi from Jeremy. Thanks for making sure that someone is watching this. And hi Ankita from Melbourne. Thanks for joining in. Good to see you over here. So now we have touched on the what and why of personal branding. Now let's go to the most important section. How do we start? And this is the trickiest part. There are tons of tools out there. If you just Google it, there are standard frameworks you can use to help you understand what is best for you. There are tons of books which will help you in personal development or figuring out what you want. But most of your time goes in figuring out what is it that you want or what is your brand. That is the hardest, probably the hardest part of this. Marketing comes probably is way easier, and that depends on what scale you want to do it. Say if you want to do it on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, or just read up a lot of things, understand how the system works, and you can get it done. And as I said, if you're an individual contributor, you don't have to really invest a lot in that either. But the other side, figuring out who you are, it can take months, and it's important that you uh, intentionally invest. So that's if a person say, hey, I'll pay me say $1,000 and I'll do your personal development course for you. It's not like you pay $1,000 and after a month you get a result. No, all a person can do, or coach can do, or all I can do for you is give you the tools to unravel yourself. I'll ask the right questions. Hey, when you were happy last time, what is it that you were exactly feeling? I mean, what specifically did you like there? Why or how come that you like that more, or what's the reason that you liked it? Then slowly track down and see how it relates to your work, how you can expand that to your professional life, and how you can bring those elements in your professional life. So what I want to explain is there is no easy way to it. There are ways to make it easier for you. Easier, it's a relative word. Going to like Michael said last week, Google is your friend. Go ahead and research, and every answer out is out there for you. But if you want faster results, sign up, take some service from a personal branding consultant. There are tons of people out there. Talk to people, and understand how they can um, do their or go through their journey at a faster pace. So that's what will help you achieve your results. Now, I was under the impression that there were two phases to personal branding. Um, First phase is to figure out who is it that you are or what is your personal brand, and second phase is a marketing thing. That's where LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever it is comes in. Michael corrected me last week, and I was blown away by that. I mean, I kind of had that in mind, but when he put it in his words, it made a lot of sense. So thanks, Michael Lambert, for that again. So he said it's a three-phase thing. First phase, okay, so let's go through the phases. So phase one is what I just explained. It's about knowing what is it that makes you happy. What are your values? Um, by values, I mean, do you like inspiring people? Do you like influencing people? Are you a very passionate person? Are you a good listener? Do you like building things? Do you like making people happy? Do you like bringing a smile in people? Do you like solving problems? Do you like talking to people and negotiating? Do you like selling things? All these are so just Google what values are there, and there'll be hundreds of words. So just go through each of the words and say, hey, does this make sense to me? Do I like influencing people? Maybe not. I don't even like talking to people. Do I like solving problems? The last time I did, nah, I'm no. I don't like solving problems. Just go through that journey. Understand what are the values that you like, or what is it that ticks you. So pick like 3 to 5 values and then stick to it. Um, that is what and attach memories to it. So in the past, hey, when I did this, I really liked this. So that is this value. And when I did this, I really like this. So this. So I think this really helps me uh, makes me happy or makes me complete. So that's the first step. So to do or to go deeper, ask yourself this question. This is a question that you have to ask yourself. Remember, personal branding is all about you. Why do you wake up every morning? What's the reason? Apart from maybe say it's cold or someone is kicking you out of your bed. Why do you wake up every morning? Why do you do the work you do? Why do you enjoy the things that you do? These are questions that you have to ask yourself. Think, what is it that makes you happy? Think, what is it that why do you wake up every morning, and why do you enjoy the work you do? This will give you some answers. So just as an example, I figured out that my 3 things that I like to do is inspire, to listen, and I'm passionate in whatever I do. So I realize that when I talk to people, I like listening, and I kind of give them uh, back some inspiration that I always make sure at the end of a one-on-one conversation, whoever it is, I mean, I hope people agree to this, that person is feeling a bit light, and I bring a smile in that person, and that's a win for me, and that's the reason I keep doing more stuff, and that's the reason I strive to be better in what I do. So those are my examples. So what are yours? That's the starting point. So it trust me, this is not an easy process. It might take days, weeks, or even months. It can keep changing every week, but there would be say 3 to 4 values or 3 to 4 things that you absolutely love and you'd like to be known for. That is what is important, and then try to link them to your professional uh, career. So for example, if you like mentoring, or if you like teaching stuff, and if you're in the IT sector, you would probably need to you probably be do better as a people leader, or a manager, or an agile coach, or whatever it is that that talks to people, does something together with people, and you kind of not teach them, you kind of bring them up to speed, you kind of share your knowledge. So that might be your thing. If building is something, and you kind of actually have a lot of joy by building things, you might be a individual contributor. So you again, Just because I'm in IT sector, that's why I'm giving IT examples. You might love doing work in a software engineer, as a software developer. You build things, you continuously build things without people, without you needing to manage people or manage budget or stuff like that. That might not be a thing. You might like just coding is your thing. That might be a value, your value as well. So once you figure it out, connect it to your professional career and see what jobs can satisfy your values. This is phase one. Any questions? So I'm just checking if there are any questions around. I still don't see much activity on LinkedIn, so I hope people are okay. So I think when I refresh, I'm getting more things. Um, so Ajinkya is asking, "Hi Vinesh, how can one showcase his or her attitude through a resume?" This is what I mentioned earlier. You can't. You can only give your technical skills and some fancy words in your resume. That's why you need a personal brand. So then, even if you say, for example, I apply for a role, say, for example, I apply for a role which or a company which does coaching for migrants or international students, helping them to get a job. If I apply for it, yes, a resume is needed, but they look at my LinkedIn and they might even actually know me. So my personal brand talks about myself. That resume there holds less importance. It's not really important what is there in that resume. What I do is always there. I use LinkedIn primarily, so that's there already. So people know me, people know what I do, people know what I'm passionate about. So a resume becomes less relevant over there. Yes, it's important, but it becomes less relevant. And that's where, magic can happen. I mean, some people don't even care about your technical skills when they really know you or really like you. So that's answering to Ajinkya. Um, Radhika, watching this while taking care of kiddo. Thanks. I appreciate a lot on doing that. So I hope I do justice to what you're doing. Deepika says hi Deepika, and Alex says hi Vinesh. How can we build personal branding in initial phase of IT life? Um, what's common in the initial phase? I think this resonates with the question from Jeremy as well. When you're early in your career, it's hard to define what is it that you like. What will help you here is curiosity. Ask questions. Talk to people. Ask questions. Do research. See what is it that helps you. Curiosity itself, it in itself is a huge value, and people appreciate that a lot. Say, for example, if you do some research and ask 10 questions to me, I'll say, hey, this guy's good, this guy has done his job and he has a lot of questions, so this guy's good. So that in itself will become a brand. And say you do this for a month, you'll have way more knowledge than what you had a month ago. So that's where you can start. So figure out, ask questions to yourself, ask questions to people close to you, ask questions to mentors. Figure out what is it that makes you happy, what is it that your career should look like. All this will add up to your personal brand. Remember, you don't have to be on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram to build a personal brand at all. um, you can just talk to people and build that brand. Some people that I know, they don't have a big LinkedIn following, but people have talked highly about them. People have talked, whenever I ask, hey, is there some person that I can interview for a personal branding session, they direct me to that person. And that person doesn't have much LinkedIn followers, but that's how the word of mouth goes through. So you have to network, ask questions, have the right attitude, make an impression on people. That's also a way to build your personal brand. So tons of ways, there are hundreds and millions of ways to do this. There's no one fixed answer, but again, it depends on you as a person, you as an individual. What is it that you like? Remember, it's about you, so the journey is yours as well. People can only say, hey, try this, try this, try this. That's what people can say, and that really helps as well. Thanks for that question, Alec. Hope that answers. So Ria is quite active on YouTube. So what she's saying is, "Hi Vinesh, I guess that if someone knows me, he can refer me, which has happened with me as well. But most of the times, all our skills do not match with." Yes, as I said, skills become less relevant if you're really good in the brand. If you paint a picture that you're here, you're a very enthusiastic, curious person. Skills, I'm not saying it's not completely relevant, but the relevance, the priority goes, or the weightage goes a bit less. Another question from Ria: How to present ourselves with the can-do attitude that we will learn whatever is necessary. Again, asking questions, just like I said, ask questions. Personal. If your brand is, for example, if you are known to put that effort and asking questions to a lot of people and gain that information, you don't have to put, or you don't have to have a can-do attitude. That is a can-do attitude, right? So, or that is an attitude that put me in any situation, you can learn. So you might have that skill in you, but if you just put it in your resume, hey, I have a can-do attitude, or I have I learn whatever I put in, you don't have an example, or you don't have people vouching you for that, or you don't have examples that showing in your real life. So just as an example, something that I often see on LinkedIn, for example, is I'm very passionate about technology. In this age, or in this generation, if you're passionate about technology, one, there are tons of articles and tons of things happening on LinkedIn. You will be following that, and you will be having an opinion on that, right? So you might engage on posts. Say, for example, I think some new technology comes in, launches in this month. You will have an opinion of that. If you are passionate, you will have an opinion of that, or you'll say you would be looking forward to that. If you write that on LinkedIn, and say LinkedIn is a professional platform, and people who are in technology are usually there on LinkedIn. I'm not generalizing here, but just as an example, and your LinkedIn activity is zero. You haven't liked a post, you haven't liked or shared a technology related post, you haven't even you haven't even liked a technology related post, and you're not following people in that technology either. What does that say about your LinkedIn profile? So you're probably just using a fancy word because everyone is saying I'm passionate about technology. You just put you're passionate about technology. Is that real? You're just copying someone else's personal brand and not making anything about yours. So those are the things that are really important over here. So I'm just looking again on LinkedIn because I don't I it says that it has just one viewer. I'm not sure. Bhavna says hi Bhavna. So I'm just checking if there are more comments because I can't see much. Um, oh yeah, there are a lot more comments, but I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it. Unfortunately, I think that's the perks of or the flaw of LinkedIn. I'm not complaining here. So let's move on. So I hope that answered um, your question, Ria. Now I explained about phase one of how. Sorry, I explained phase one of how. Now let's go to the phase two of how. Now that you know what it is that uh, ticks you, figure out, is it really something that ticks you? Now, I would like to mention the second phase as integration. Once you realize what your values are, what you have to do is live those values and see if it actually makes you happy. For example, if you have a conflict coming up, say you have to make a decision or you have a choice to make, say, uh, should I do this or should I do this? Give a chance for your values to drive that decision. Say you have two choices, you have three values. What do my values say? So when you make a decision based on that value, does it make you happier? So are you regretting not taking the other opportunity? What is it? So are those values yours? Are those values real? Are you those values? Right? That's phase two. So you have to integrate. So now that you've chosen, you have to integrate that into you. So you have to live through those values, intentionally observe when those values kick in. Say you did something. Look back. Did I do this because this value was being satisfied over there, and that will reinforce that, hey, this is your value, right? um, and values will change. So you might think, hey, I don't think I align to that value, maybe I should try something else. Go for it. That's where that Go back to phase one. So do a loop of phase one and phase two until you sure, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what will make me happy. And this is for a start. Say 1 year down the lane, you might say, this is not what I want to do. That's fine. Change, right? But you know where you have to go, you know where you have to look, or you know what direction you have to look in, and that becomes really important. So that's phase two. If there are any questions over here on LinkedIn or YouTube, please keep them coming. Jeremy asks, in the early steps of one's career in the IT industry, would you recommend someone focuses more on their technical skills or on their people communication skills? Both are important, Jeremy. As I said, if you just focus on your technical skill, you it won't take you long in this generation. It might help, but as I said, in you don't store things in your memory much anymore. You have Google. Just figure out you can figure out things. But if you have a problem solving attitude, or if you know you can solve any problem, or if you know the right people, or if you if you if you have someone to explain or hold your hand and say this might be better for you, that's what will add more value to you than technical skills. I'm not saying absolutely you don't bother about technical skills at all, forget about it. Tomorrow you say, hey, Vinesh said don't ignore technical skills, I'm not going to study anymore. No, that's not the way. You should have a balance, but both are equally important. What I see people, or what traditionally happens is, people do not invest much time in people and networking. That should change, and without that, things will become hard in the future. Ria on YouTube asks, okay, I think I misread her question. Sorry, I was asking how to present the attitude in an interview. The person who referred me might not be an interview. So for the interview, I'm a stranger. How to win over there? Again, that's if you're curious, if you've already done your homework, you paint that picture to that interviewer. The way you talk, the way you present a question. Say, for example, an interviewer asks, "How would you solve this problem?" You have already done your homework, and you already know. Say, for example, you're a problem solver. You know how to approach a problem, even though you absolutely have no idea what the problem is. You know how to approach it. Say, you'll take a look at this, you'll ask for more information, you'll get this, you'll get this, you get this, and this is my perspective of how I'll solve it. That's all an interviewer wants at that point of time, right? So that's what does when you have already invested time in you, in figuring out what is it that helps you, or what is it that actually makes you happy, right? So you already know the answers, are you're already living those values. So you don't have to prepare, you don't have to frown on a question that you're not prepared. You know, this is the role that I want. uh, this is what makes me happy, and this is what I have to do. So your mind already jumps onto that question, and you'll be ready for that answer, rather than thinking about that problem at that particular point of time. Going back to questions, please keep the comments coming. I'm not sure if it's LinkedIn or if it's me. I'm not seeing much comments on LinkedIn, and it still shows only one person live on LinkedIn, which is a bit disappointing. I hope it's not. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. So again, coming back to the how part, we have touched on phase one, phase two, now coming to the phase three. Phase three is where marketing comes into picture, and that's where social media comes into picture. I can talk about LinkedIn all day. That's where what I'm comfortable with. I'm not a big I haven't made it big on Instagram, Facebook, or I haven't even gone near TikTok. People say that's the next big thing. I might be missing out, but I don't know what to make out of it. So, but LinkedIn is a brilliant platform if you're thinking of professional marketing. Say if you are into IT, for example, and you want to showcase your skills, LinkedIn is the best place. Facebook and Instagram probably not the right place to do it. Um, so you have to choose what is your platform. and you have to decide. Now you know what it is that makes you happy, so it makes you easier to share what it is that makes you happy, and the journey after that becomes easier and it becomes part of a lifestyle. I mean, just like I'm doing, I post like at least 3 times a week, and I don't have to think much about it. I have say list of ideas. One fine, say Monday morning, I pick one and say, hey, let me write a post of this. 10 minutes, I write a post. You are already in the system. You are already thinking about it, so it doesn't become much of a hassle at all. Um, Keep in mind, it's not just about social media. There are other platforms as well. Offline networking can have a huge turnover as well. As I say, number of followers doesn't actually say anything about how good that person is or how popular that person is. That's not what matters. In the end, what matters is how many people actually knows this person and what value is that person adding to you or their followers. So offline networking can be very effective in that case. Say if you know 10 people offline, they know you and you can reach out to them. It's not like LinkedIn. They're not virtual uh, followers or virtual connection. So 10 people might be enough to build your brand in there. And those 10 people, if they say, talk to another 10 people, hey, I met this person last week, maybe this person can help you. So that 10 kind of goes say 20 or more, 30 or even more than that. So that's where personal branding can help. I'm not going more details into LinkedIn and how you can market in LinkedIn. That's probably a whole another session for it. So I just touched on what the points are. So we'll conclude the session soon. If you have any questions at all, be it on YouTube or LinkedIn, this would be the right time to ask before I conclude the session. I'm still keeping an eye on the comments. Um, um, so let me I'll keep an eye on the questions. Please keep the questions coming. So let me conclude on what I discussed today. I started with what personal branding is. It's about you. It's about you and you only. What is it that makes you happy? Uh, how can you bring it to your professional life? And how can you paint that picture, or how can people see that in you? That's what personal branding is about. Why personal branding is important? I talked about how technology or how work is changing across the world, how the workforce is changing. It's no longer you get into a company and work there for 15, 20, 30 years. That's not uh, um, the way anymore. Um, I also talked about the side effects of personal branding. It makes you more happy, it gives you more clarity, you know where you're going, and you're more congruent to what is it that you're going through. So that is a huge help as well. Now, and coming to the why, how, I explained the 3 phases of what personal branding is. First phase being knowing what your values are. Second phase, integrating into those values, making those values drive your decisions and attaching memories to those values. And then comes marketing, which is the probably the third phase of personal branding. So I hope you got a brief idea of what personal branding is. This is my perspective, but this is a nutshell of what personal branding is. If you talk to another personal branding consultant, they will give a different perspective, but this is in general, this is what it is. I'm sure everyone will agree that personal branding is about you and you only. So you are the focus. Don't try to copy anyone. It won't work. Even though you copy my values or copy my skills or copy another person's skills, when you market it, people will say, hey, that person doesn't sound like that, or that person doesn't look like that, right? So it will always fall flat and it won't be very effective. So that will backfire as well. Going back to questions before I conclude the session, I don't see many questions on LinkedIn or YouTube. If you have any questions, um, if you really like this session, please leave a comment. If you'd like to hear more about something specific, please leave a comment so that I can have future episodes or future chat sessions in a way that will reach out to you and will address your questions. Otherwise, I think that's that for me. I don't see any questions on LinkedIn or on Face or YouTube. It was a pleasure. And thank you for giving your time. A lot of people commented that they're multitasking, taking care of the kid, doing chores and stuff. So happy that you spent some time for me. I hope I definitely did justice to that, and I hope I added a lot of value. If you have any questions at all, you know how to reach me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or visit my website at vineshpalan.com. So until next time, next week I have an interesting guest signed up, so it'll be a really interesting conversation next week. And until next time, bye bye.